Okay, I'm gonna kind of shift gears. I went ahead and took this bracket off for the transom clamp, and I wanted to bring light to something that when I'm working with these old beater outboards, for the most part, I can get one that's really salty and may run good, but it may have problems like this one did, of being so corroded and so forth that to spend any real money on it would make it not worth even messing with. And this one was in that condition. And so what I try to do a lot of times, or what I do, because I don't get very much money for one of these outboards, if I decide to sell it, a lot of them I give away to friends who bring me fish and barter type stuff. But anyway, if I spend a whole lot of money making this engine a usable engine, there's certainly no profit value in it, and you may end up even taking a loss on the thing, just bringing it back to service. This engine was right there at the borderline to where it was, for the most part, ready to part out. So I wanted to bring light to some things that I do. I make things on my own that will be functional. They may not be near as good as factory or something that anybody may even want to do to an old motor. But for me, I can make a usable engine out of it, and then I found a lot of cheating corners I can take to save money. One of them is this. Anytime you have broken aluminum on a boat that's been exposed to salt water all of its life, you're going to have things. This is the motor mounts that hold the transom clamps on, and almost every time, because when they're running in the ocean, salt water is just constantly bathing them. So when you go to take these broken aluminum parts off, anything to do with the transom, you may break all of them. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, and 4. You may break all 4 of those getting them off. And so if you have to buy a set, I know just the upper 3 motor mounts for this engine right here is around $130 plus shipping. So you can see where that gets to taking any profit margin or any worth out of the engine very quickly. So I'm able to reuse these old broken motor clamps, and I'll show you how I do it. Is it as good as the new? No. These are AV clamps for anti-vibration. Will you feel more vibration in the engine? Yes. To me, it's not that noticeable. But anyway, I'll show you how I kind of salvage these. Get my drill press in the video there. Okay, what I do is, the first thing I do, when it breaks off, it's going to look about like that. When you're undoing it, if it breaks, it's going to break right there where the 9/16 inch bolt is. All right, and that's what you'll end up getting off. What I do is I take and get my bench grinder and I grind where the old threads were. I just grind it. I'm not trying to grind this off. What I'm doing is heating it, and I've just found this is the quickest way to do it. I just put it on my bench grinder and start grinding it, and it takes the vulcanization that was done with this part, and it'll just fall off. So make sure you're wearing eye protection. It'll go shooting. Then what I do is I put this piece in my drill press. I just clamp that into my drill press, and then I drill a hole right down through the center of it. And I use a bit that's a little larger than what originally came on there. The stud, that is, that was in there. So I drill a hole in that, right down through the middle of it, all the way through the aluminum and all. All right. I have a hole right down in this piece of square stock that it can go down through. And so what I end up with then is that. You can see there's a hole all the way through it. Okay, then I take a bolt. Yes, that's probably about a 3" by 5/16, something like that. It's pretty close. And then I put it through here. And you can see it's the drill bit that I've chosen, it's really tight. So what I have to do then is I take a socket. I'm going to put you over by my vise now, if I can. All right. I take a socket. It's a 1/16 inch socket, and that fits snugly over the end of that. Then I use my bench vise, hopefully you're seeing this, and I cram that bolt through there. Okay. Get it on through. Make sure the bolt's all the way seated. And when you pull it off, you can see you now have a new set of threads that you'll be able to put a nut on. And then I'll put a washer right on there. One more thing I do is you see how much the head of the bolt is sticking up. I'm going to grind that down to where it's about an 1/8 inch thick or so. And you want to do that. You want to leave a little meat on it because when you bolt this back up to the engine, whoops, sorry about that. When you bolt this back up to the engine, you want, as you draw in these 2 bolts here that hold this on, you want it to smash that so that when you go to put the nut on, it don't spin. So leave a little meat on there and it'll draw up real nice. These are aluminum, these little tangs, and they may bend just a little, but you want it to smash that in there, and now you've got a usable motor mount. I do that. I've been able to do this system on all 4 broken motor mounts on these old beaters, and honestly, if there's any extra added vibration, it ain't much because I don't notice it, and I've done it dozens of times. So that's how I save $130 on just the top 3 motor mounts. The other 2 motor mounts are even more expensive than that. So rather than buying $200 worth of motor mounts for an engine that really ain't worth but $300 or $400, that's how I get around it. Is it ideal? No. Will it work? Absolutely. And it saves a lot of money, and it allows you to put one of these old beaters back into service that somebody can use. And it's just things like that. I've got dozens of things like that I've done over the years when I need to put an engine back in service and I just don't have the part, and I go look on some of the websites where I buy parts and it'll say no longer available, or they'll have it and it'll be astronomical. Other items that I build, I use shift levers and stuff like that off of other engines that weren't designed to fit a particular engine. I can make them work by grinding, cutting, drilling, those kind of things. So you got to do what you got to do to put one of these old salty engines back in service without, you know, robbing the bank to do it. So I just wanted to break right here because I'm at that point where I'm going to fix that busted transom clamp and everything that was on that motor, and I'll show you. This is what I was talking about here. You can see that transom clamp there is broke. I have taken off just the side, but I find it's more work. It's easier just to take this. Still a lot of good usable parts on that. This whole upper part here. As you can see, this motor mount broke as well. I don't know if you can see that, but it broke right there. I will do this same system for that, except for the bolt I run through will be longer. I won't push it all the way through, and I'll cut it off so it has threads on both sides. And again, you'll have a motor mount. So stuff like that, when you're, if somebody's got an old outboard they want to sell you cheap and it's an old beater parts type thing, you want to watch stuff like this. This is where the money gets real, is when you start buying these forged aluminum parts. So anyway, that's where I was at, and I just thought I would show you how I make a motor mount.